Okay, we'll get started on the second half of this press conference. So I've taken off my full promoter hat and I will put on my full president of the IndyCar Series hat. Obviously, the last 72 hours now have been a challenging 72 hours in a lot of ways for the Indianapolis 500 and the NTT IndyCar Series. For me, certainly the last 72 hours have been an opportunity for me to fully dive into my previous life as a team owner and thinking about race cars and rules and things that aren't necessarily related to my most recent day job at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I did want to address a couple of things that I think have come up as it relates to really the Monday announcement and the Sunday issue with Team Penske and the 2-car and the 12-car. I think for me, the best place to start is the purpose of tech probably is the best place for me to start. So I've spent an awful lot of time the last 2 days in particular really digging into how our tech team operates, how the processes are, what are they focused on. I told you on Sunday night when I talked to some of you, and then again on Monday, that I was just really focused on facts. So for me, the last 48 hours with respect to the tech side of things has been related to facts. One of the things, or the most important thing that our tech team does, is focus on ensuring that when cars roll out onto qualifying or roll out to race in any of the races, not just the Indianapolis 500, but any of the NTT IndyCar Series races, that the levelness of the playing field is as level as possible. So when cars go through tech, the place where our tech team focuses is they focus on the elements of the race car that impact the performance the most and make sure that all of those elements are inside the tolerances that the IndyCar Series pays attention to. So on Sunday, when the 12 cars that were in the Fast 12 were presented in the tech line, we had a 30-minute window to get 12 cars through tech. As those cars go through 2 stages of tech, there's a tech stage that happens before they get in the tech garage here. It's in the tech tent on the ground and before they get to the tech garage where the tech platform is. What happens in that moment, the tech team goes through the cars to make sure safety things like belts and headrests and those important driver safety elements are in the car and properly installed in the car and meet the proper ratings that we need for each of those. We also look at a lot of the aero components that don't need to be measured from a level state. So in other words, they could be measured on a ground that is not absolutely level. The purpose of the tech pad is you're putting the car on something that's absolutely level, and there are certain things that we have to measure from that standpoint. So a lot of the times if you stand outside that tech tent, you see the tech team with all of the templates that they use on things like the front wings, the rear wings, body panels, body parts, those things that absolutely impact the performance of the race car on the racetrack. Once the car goes through that and has passed through those, it goes up on the tech pad. When it's on the tech pad, the team looks at other things that are related to making the car faster or making the car perform better when it's on track. So, for example, the underneath of the underwing, making sure that the ride heights are exactly correct or within those tolerances. And in order to do that, you need a tech pad because you need to ensure that the ground is level the way you measure it. Otherwise, those measurements could be seen could be very enough that it's challenging. So that's the purpose of our tech team. I can tell you after the last 48 hours that I feel 100% confident that the tech team has not failed in ensuring that all of those elements that cause a car to be faster or slower because of following the rules have been followed, not only this past week during qualifying, but I believe from what I've learned from talking to folks that that's what's happened in the past. So the elephant in the room and the question in the room is why did the tech team find on Sunday the attenuator on the back of the 12 and the 2 car that was not in the state as supplied by Dallara? So that's the big question I've been trying to ask. First of all, I wanted to know what's the tech team do, and why was that piece not found? I've spent a lot of time talking to engineers. I've talked to our internal engineers. I've talked to team engineers. I've talked to Dallara engineers to really understand the purpose of that. The purpose of the attenuator on the car is for safety. There's no other reason for that attenuator other than for safety. So that attenuator has been modified 3 times over the last few years in order to make the car safer in a rearward impact. Over that time, when the first attenuator came, Dallara has tested that through crash testing to figure out how they can make sure that that attenuator crushes at the right rate. So in January of 2024, when the current attenuator rule came out, that attenuator was homologated. And basically that means when it comes from Dallara, you cannot change it. You cannot change it at all. And the reason we do that is a safety reason, because if people modify that part, it could make it more stiff or less stiff, harder to crash or less harder to crash, and therefore could change the real purpose of that piece of the car. The purpose of that car is to create an energy absorption. When that part of the car hits the wall at backwards, it's absorbing as much energy as it can in the right time frame as it can, so that we reduce the amount of energy that ends up in the drivetrain that ultimately ends up driving through to the driver. It's there to protect the safety of our driver. And that's why it comes out as a homologated piece that cannot be changed, because we don't know if a team changes it, if that in fact changes its ability to do its job. So that's what the piece of that was. On parts that are specifically designed for safety, our team in tech does not, on a regular basis, look at those. And this is one of those parts that was not looked at until it was seen on Sunday. Is that a miss? Absolutely is a miss. Is it a part that we should probably, or is it a part that everybody should be exposed to at every event? If they've changed it, they should. They're outside of the rules. 100%. What I do know, and I've heard it from, in fact, I started hearing it on Monday from team owners and others, that it had no real performance impact. And the reason it hasn't been looked at over the last several years as much as we scrutinize the things that we do know have a performance impact is because it doesn't have such. I've seen drivers and team owners publicly even say that it doesn't have a driver impact. I'm not making an excuse for the fact that a rule was violated. In fact, you should see in the decision we made on Monday that we took it very seriously. It is a safety element. We've had 2 other safety violations at 2 races previously this year that we've taken seriously as well. We said in both of those instances that safety is paramount for us, and we fined 2 other teams $25,000 in 2 events for safety violations as well. We took this one step further. It's the Indianapolis 500. It is the most important race in the world, and we wanted to ensure that the integrity of this event is not compromised through an issue in qualifying. So coming out of qualifying, do I feel like tech did their job? 100%. Do I feel like we have a lot of opportunity to be better in tech? 100%. So one of the things that we will definitely be doing going forward, I've been 3 months in this job. This is an opportunity for me to get thrown into the deep end, figure out a way to make sure things like this don't happen in the future. So I've already started working with our tech team. We've got 11 races after the Indianapolis 500 that we must ensure that our tech is able to get through all of these pieces, whether that means we have to extend the amount of time that they have to tech cars, whether it means we need to add more resources in terms of personnel, or whether it means we need to add more resources in terms of the equipment that we use to go through the tech tie. We will do that between now and the end of this year, and that's something that we started working on 2 days ago. Moreover, for the last 6 months, I've been involved in a conversation on the periphery, and certainly more so in the last 3 months, as our organization has continued to grapple with the optics issue and how can we remove conversations like the ones we've been having for the last 72 hours out of the conversation so that they know it is absolutely clear that there are not any optics challenges. We have been working very, very hard to create an entity, an officiating entity, and by officiating I mean race control and tech inspection, and an entity that is completely removed from anything that has to do with Penske Entertainment or Roger Penske or the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the IndyCar Series. We want to ensure that we have an officiating entity that has no ability for folks to say it's got influence from Roger Penske. Am I saying that the last 72 hours had influence from Roger Penske? I'm telling you it absolutely did not. If it did, I probably would have left those cars exactly where they were on the 12th place. But I believe that because of the timing of that violation and the fact that that violation would have left them essentially where they could have qualified anyway, that the penalty needed to be much more severe. And I can tell you that was not a fun phone call to the owner of that team. So those are the places where we are in terms of tech. And I first of all, I'm not making excuses. We made a mistake. We missed something that is crucial to the way that we go through tech, and that is a tech element that's related to safety. And frankly, nothing's more important than safety on those cars, even more so important than what's happening on the racetrack, because we do not want to have our drivers injured. So at this point in time, we're going to focus on how do we make ourselves better over the next 11 races. And then how do we make ourselves completely better and removed from anything that could challenge the optics of the officiating of the NTT IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis 500? So, like I said, it's been a lot of conversation over the last 72 hours. A lot of great input from drivers, team owners, engineers, our own engineers, Delara's engineers. And I think together as a community, we have some of the smartest people in this community, and we will continue to move forward. And I look forward to what the rest of the season looks like, and certainly to what we can develop for 2026 and beyond.